I can have your attention. If I can have your attention, we're going to go ahead and start our media availabilities here. Advance of the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. We're joined now by Daytona 500 champion, driver of the number 3 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing, Austin Dillon. Before we start talking about that stuff, though, Austin, I know you've got a pretty good announcement you want to share with us.
Yeah, this weekend we're running the number 20 GoShare truck. It's a GoShare app, and best way to explain it, if you're looking for someone to help you out with delivery, pickup service, it's like Uber but for trucks and delivery. So it's very cool, and I've moved a few times. It's not a lot of fun, but you can get some help from the GoShare app. Check it out and go on your phone and grab it. It's a great app to have.
Excellent. We're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. We'll start over here on the right, then we'll go to Mike.
Mark Carroll, PRN. Austin, before the Daytona 500, you were one of 63 drivers that were one-hit wonders. You have the second win. How does it feel to, or what does it mean for you to no longer be a one-hit wonder?
It's a good feeling. It puts you in a little bit different category, and but even better is the second race was the Daytona 500. It's a championship race, so it's good. But I want to do more. I want to get more wins and keep on knocking them down. Shaq told me yesterday if I had any piece of advice on his podcast, he said, take the trophy, take your mom and your wife out to eat. He said after you get done eating, you tell your mom to take that trophy and don't look at it again and go get some more. He said go get a couple more of those things. He said that's what my dad used to do to me. He said he would take all my championship rings, all my trophies, put them in my basement, make me hungry, go get some more.
We'll stay over here to the right to Mike, and then we'll go to Chris.
Mike Embry, U.S. So you get a tattoo Sunday night. The race becomes official Monday. Did you ever have a thought that you might have to get laser removal or something like that?
I didn't feel like it either way. It wasn't going to be taken away. I mean, I felt pretty good about it, and it's that would have sucked, but it didn't happen, so it's all good.
Was that a team decision?
Yeah, most of the team. So we went over to Tijuana Flats. One of our buddies across the street there, who was with me when I got my first tattoo in Daytona, and got it. So this was the second tattoo, and there was like probably 5 on the team that already had it. And I had said after the 600, like I think 1 or 2 more got it after the 600 when we were in Vegas. So I said, all right, next win, the rest of the guys have got to get it. And most of them got it, and I decided since I was in there, I might as well get a tattoo too. And I added the 500 championship there. It was pretty cool, and something we'll always be able to remember it by. It'd be funny if the next champion does it.
We're going to go to the far back, and then we'll come up to Chris and then Jerry.
Austin Ben White with Lexington Dispatch. Can you just talk about the fact that you've got the win, you're in the playoffs? How does that help your mindset for going into the rest of the season, because you got that over with that you are now in the playoffs?
Definitely allows you to breathe a little bit, but I already had some motivation this week, I think, on Race Hub, and Brad and Chad saying that we weren't going to win again. So that was good to hear. That was something to get me fired up a little bit more, and our team get those competitive juices flowing again. So we'll just keep rocking it however we can. And we still have a lot to work on. We want to make this Camaro ZL1 good at all tracks, and we're looking forward to that. Been excited about it. So it's a great start to the season. It definitely gets the momentum going, and we just need to keep pounding.
We're going to come up here to the front to Chris Knight, and then we'll go to Jerry.
Yeah, Chris Knight, CatchFence.com. Can you talk a little bit about running back to trucks? Why this weekend? And what have you seen out of Young's Motorsports that you feel like that you guys can be competitive and have a shot to win?
Well, Tyler's done a lot in the truck series, and he's been working really hard, and kind of met him through mutual friends and seen what kind of effort he was putting into the truck series. And we used him last year for a couple races and with Austin Dillon Motorsports. And so we had the opportunity to run Atlanta with GoShare, and figured Tyler was the guy to do it with. And I'm looking forward to working with this whole group of guys he's got over there, and it seems like they got some good stuff. And today will be the first time I get in the truck. Just want to go out there. I had fun running this race last year, so it's one of those places. Anytime you can get a chance to run in Atlanta with the old pavement the way it is, sliding around out there, I like the chances. It's fun. Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. Tanner's a heck of a wheelman. A lot of this credit goes to Austin Craven with Austin Dillon Motorsports, and he had the vision to, we just want to keep giving back to the sport in any way we can. And Tanner is one of those guys that's got that sprint car background like Larson and Christopher Bell, and performed well at the Chili Bowl. And so we're going to be in a couple truck races this year, I think, so it'll be pretty cool.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Austin, you have a Truck Series Championship, an Xfinity Series Championship, and I know it's only one race in, but have you thought about I think you're the only driver active right now that can win all three in across the series. Have you thought about that at all?
I definitely have thought about that, and that's my goal, is to be the first to win all three. I feel like that would be a heck of an accomplishment, and I've thought about it a lot this week. After you win a huge race like that, what's next? And in my eyes, like that's the next goal. So that's what we need to go to work on hard this year, because we've already got a great opportunity with the way the playoffs work, is being locked in, or put in the playoffs.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. Austin, were you any nervous at all in any of these situations you're in this week with all these TV shows? I mean, I know you kind of like being in front of the camera and stuff like that, but does that make you uncomfortable?
I did get nervous. Yeah.
Yeah, which ones?
It is, the more you do the media stuff, the more comfortable you get. As my career has gone on, I've gotten way more comfortable and love it. But the Kelly and Ryan deal, I got nervous. I was like, man, I just, I had a text from Dale Jr. The night after. He congratulated me. He said, man, go represent our sport well this week. So there's still a little bit of you got to keep it together and do good. And the Fox one I was comfortable with, the first one, because it was about sports, and then the second one was like Kelly and Ryan, so it's just this broad audience that you don't know what to expect. They're going to ask you and stuff. So I was in the green room before, and I wasn't like talking to anybody. I'm usually pretty talkative, and I'm just like sitting there, and my wife comes in because she missed the first interview. She was going to come to the second one, and she comes in and she's talking, and she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm just like, I'm chilling. I'm tired. And anytime I get nervous, I cope with it with like sleeping. So if you like watched her story, like I actually was asleep in one of them. Like she caught me like half asleep. So I don't know. I just go to sleep when I get nervous, and they come in there and they're like, all right, you're up. And I'm like, okay. I walk around the corner, like you look in the mirror before you go around the corner, and you're going to they're like, we want you live and energy when you walk in there, because people are going to be clapping. So I get through that, and it's like an awkward stage, because you're like smiling at all these extras that you don't have a clue who they are, but they're excited because that's what they're supposed to be. And you're like, you're running down the aisle smiling, and then you get there, and I never got to meet Ryan or Kelly before the TV. Like that live was like first time I've met them. So I just I sit down and I'm like, yeah, congratulations, yeah, thank you. And first thing to get comfortable, I just started talking about my wife. It was the first thing I went to talking about. And then I couldn't find her, and my voice started shaking a little bit. And then I found her, and I was like, okay. And I sat down in my chair, and then it was all good. I relaxed, and they were great. Kelly and Ryan both. The interview was easy after that, and just kind of was trying to be authentic and talk about the whole experience. But that was the most nervous for sure. I mean, that's a good question, because you get to a certain point, you get comfortable in a lot of things, but when you get nervous again, it's cool.
We'll stay here to the left to Kelly Crandall.
KellyCrandallRacer.com. Austin, you're going to buy, it came out this week, you're going to buy everybody at RCR Daytona 500 championship rings. How many employees are there, and how much cash do you think you're going to be chunking up for that one?
It's gonna hurt a little bit, but it's worth it. I'm a believer in you give, you get back, and I've been given a lot, and it's just the blessing keeps on returning itself. So it's a big morale booster for all those guys. And I think, what'd you say, Craven? 425 employees. So it'll be pretty big check. I'll have to dish out at Jostens if you're listening. We need to do some kind of social media deal or something, man. So gotta get a good deal on those rings.
We'll go to the middle to Bob, and then we'll come over here to Caleb.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. You once told me that when you win, you're going to talk a lot of crap. So I'm curious, how much have you talked, and have you ever thought, like, maybe I should tone things down or not?
No, I mean, I feel pretty good about the way I've handled it all week, and I've had fun. And our next episode after the win of Barn Life comes out here pretty soon. It hadn't come out yet. I've been staying on Justin to make sure it's a really good one. We filmed it, and it was like an hour and a half of just like a lot of fun and BSing with my buddies, and it's pretty cool. So you'll have to check that out. That was good. And so yesterday in my group text with my buddies, they watched Race Hub, and that Chad Knaus and Brad Keselowski thing kind of came on, and it was like, all right, it's time to keep knocking them down. I guess they don't believe it yet. So we got to step up though at RCR. We still got a lot to prove. You know, this is a speedway race. Even though it's the biggest race in our deal, it's a speedway race, and we got a lot more to prove. Andy Petrie and all the guys at RCR are working hard, and I think this coming down to a two-car team move is big for us, and we got to take advantage of that. I am not gonna lie, I'm tired right now, but we're gonna kick butt this weekend and then get back regrouped and get in the groove and try and gain as many bonus points as we can, similar to how we want to be like the 78 did last year. They did a great job of putting themselves in a position to qualify themselves deep into the playoffs before they even started. So any way we can do that, get bonus points and work hard, it's going to be key.
We'll go here to the left to Caleb.
Caleb Whistler, KickingTheTires.net. After the Daytona 500, you were trying to find the kid who gave you the lucky penny.
Yeah.
Obviously, you found it. How did you find him, and what did it mean for you to have him at the shop this week?
So I think his grandmother actually called the track to get the picture of us in the autograph line, and I'm not sure if an employee at Daytona, like, so who are you, or the camera guy knew or something, and they contacted Jackie, and then while we were in New York, I got to talk to him on the phone. I was like, hey, man, this is awesome. Anything I could ever do for you. So Jackie kind of continued the conversation with the family, and I didn't know that she was continuing that conversation. And Fox and RCR came together, flew them up to RCR, and I did an interview the next morning when we got home, and I was just thinking it was a regular interview. I sit down, I start the whole interview, and he comes up beside me and says, "You're welcome." And I'm like, that's cool, man. I knew no clue he was going to be there. It was a total surprise. So they did a really good job on surprising me on that. And it was really special. That was probably one of the most special things of the whole week, taking him through the shop, putting him in a race car. And he was so gracious and, like, thankful for that moment. And it made me just realize, how blessed I am, because we gave him a basket at the end with, like, a T-shirt and a die cast, and all the team signed it. And this is an 11-year-old kid, some 11-year-old kids that I've seen, they just don't act like he did. It was real quiet and, like, taken back by the whole thing instead of just, like, having fun. It was like he was really just thankful. And when we give him the basket, it was just me, my dad, and Jackie and his grandmother in a room, and we gave him the basket, and he started, like, tearing up on me. And I'm like, gosh, man, like, holy cow, like, it's just a T-shirt to me, but to him it was something else. So that was the most emotional part of the whole weekend. And after that, I told him, I said, look, buddy, if you need anything, like anything at all, you call me. Like, if you want to go into racing something, if you need anything, just let me know. And and he was really cool, and we took him to Race Hub, and they did such a good job showing him everything, the ins and outs of it. And it was cool just to see how thankful he was to be a part of that. And I take it for granted too much, and he made me, like, come back to reality and just see how cool it was for him.
We'll go right here to the middle.
Charles Odom with AP here in Atlanta. You talked about sliding around on the old track. They've been talking about resurfacing for several years here, and we hear drivers come in every year and lobby for keeping the track. Why do you guys love it so much, and when will you guys say it's time to resurface?
Well, last year I was really excited that they, after the race, we were flying home, they made the decision not to repave, because I was running like third here, and we had an alternator failure. It's one of our best races we had all last year. It was the first mile and a half, and Newman and I both had the same problem running in the top 5 or 6. So I just wanted another shot at this place because I felt like it was a good track for us, and we'll probably have a similar setup that we had last year here, and just with the new Camaro ZL1, it should be a good race for us. So, yeah, and you go back to your roots when you get these old pavement tracks where it's taking care of the tires are really key, and long runs are very key. So we're every other week during the year, we're trying to take off and go fast. And this one, if you take off, it really hurts you in the end on the long run.
Any additional questions for Austin? Austin, thanks. Oh, hang on. We got Lee right here in the middle.
Lee Spencer, motorsport.com. There's a lot of talk about people saying that, okay, the real racing starts this week.
Yeah.
And, you know, they look at the top 10, whatever, and say, okay, here's what they usually do at Atlanta. How do you get around those perceptions and just, you know, go out and kind of lay it out and show that, you know, it's not, you know, I think someone said earlier one track pony, but, you know, how do you prepare for that?
Just go out and prove them wrong, you know, stay focused, do my job, and work hard, go to work. You know, we got a lot of races. The one thing they don't have right now that we have is a win. So we're on top right now, and no matter what, they can't take that away, and we're going to keep working. And you know, I don't expect us to lay down at all. I feel like now more than ever we need to go in and head on and just go after it. So be focused and get back in the swing of things, but we'll be ready. Thanks.
We'll finish up in the back with Christian.
Christian Coley, FrenchStretch.com. Austin, over the offseason, Chevrolet transitioned over to the Camaro. This will be the first weekend we're going to feel on, you know, an actual racetrack that is not a super speedway and aerodynamic dependent. How do you feel the Chevrolet will handle this weekend?
Well, I actually got to hang out a little bit at the shop this week with the Fab shop, and they had told me they had like cut off 36 bodies, and like they were on like body number 37 or 38 for the Camaro ZL1 for our team and all of our affiliates. So they've been putting a lot of work into those cars in the ZL1. So I feel like it's 1 for 1 right now. So why didn't go 2 for 2 this weekend? You know, Chevy did their job, and I think all of our teams with Chevy did. So it's a great car, and I'm a personal huge fan of the Camaro, and hope I can get one, you know, the ZL1s here pretty soon.
Austin, thanks for joining us this morning. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
Continuing our media availabilities in advance of the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500. We're joined now by driver the number 43 NASCAR Racing Experience Chevrolet for Richard Petty Motorsports, Bubba Wallace. Bubba, you've had a hell of a week, man.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Wasn't too busy, though. After that 500, I figured I'd be slammed all the way up till here, but it wasn't too bad.
Excellent. Well, we're going to go ahead and open it up to questions. If you'll raise your hand, we'll get a mic to you. Let's start with Bob in the middle, then we'll go to Mark.
I can guess where this question's going.
Actually, I have 2, and this one you might not guess. I saw where you had shoes that commemorated your Daytona. I'm here in the middle.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
You had shoes that commemorated the first Daytona 500. Are you using those shoes again this week, or were those special shoes just for the Daytona 500?
Those were special. They had on the heels, Alpine Stars did a great job. They hand script. It said my first Daytona 500 with the date. So I ran that all last week, and then I told Angie, PR person, hey, do we have another pair of shoes that we can throw on? She's like, no, but we can get them. So we got just a generic black pair now. So those were special for that weekend. We'll put those up and be able to look back on those and say I remember when.
And any concern that such a strong Daytona 500 might increase expectations for you and your team?
That was not your second question. You just changed that up. No, I you know, for being able to talk to Richard last night, we had a Coke dinner last night, which went really great. Great partners of the sport. And I asked him, what's the expectations for this year? You know, I wanted to see what his take was, and he says, looking back on last year, they knew where they stood, 15th, 20th, more so on the backside of that. and he wants to improve to a top 8 to a top 12 team. And I'm like, okay, that's right in the ballpark I was saying. I said top 10 to top 15. So he says, yes, there are going to be days where we're better than that, and there's going to be days where we're worse than that. But we all have to keep it in one piece and bring it home and let us work on it and not get behind. So, having those couple moments with him, 45-minute car ride with him, there was a lot said, but I asked him that specific question. So coming off Daytona, I've always said, whoever enters in Daytona has a chance to win the race. Just miss all the wrecks and be there at the end. Have a good push, and you can set yourself up really nice. So, but coming into this weekend, we know where we stand, and at the same time, we don't know where we stand with everything that's gone on. So, hopefully, we unload with a good amount of speed for us, and we continue to work on it and make it better. This will be the first time for me in Atlanta in a Cup car, and I know how wore out this place is in an Xfinity car, and it's not any fun. So, well, it's a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but hanging on to that thing is a challenge, so I'm looking forward to it.
We'll go to the far right to Mark, and then we'll come over here to Kelly.
Mark Garrow, PRN. It wasn't all that long ago that you were struggling to stay relevant, struggling to keep your name out there. So what's it like now to have so many people talking about you and your prospects?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think 1 or 2 articles. I think Jamie McMurray, we just had the rookie meeting, and he was our leader for that meeting. And he was like, it's crazy. I didn't see 1 article about you after the 500 this week. It's crazy. I thought I'd see a lot. I'm like, yeah, me too. But I think, we made a lot of headlines this past weekend, and we did such great things. I mean, it was really cool to see the 3 on the top of the pylon there with the 43 behind. Obviously, you wish it was roles reversed, but to come off that and have a great Speed Weeks and to really kick off our 2018 season just really means a lot, and it shows all the credit that goes back to the guys. I mean, they built that car and gave me the opportunity, and just thanks to everybody at RPM. So I'm excited about this year. I think I keep saying it, our attitude and our appetite for being competitive and just having that hungry appetite is going to carry us a long way. So first things first, practice is up here in 30 minutes, so I'm excited.
We're going to go over here to the left to Kelly, then we'll go to Kenny and Woody.
KellyCrandallRacer.com. So, Bubba, after a few months of having all the cameras around and going through that whole process, and like you said, this week hasn't been as bad now that Daytona is behind you. Do you feel like you're getting back to normal? Is it nice to be able now to maybe get into a rhythm of going into the season?
Hell, I'm never normal, so that'll never be the case. But I will say in a couple of days, I'm like looking around like where the camera's at. It's just how much they were around. We went to dinner one night, Amanda and I was like, wow, I'm surprised we're not mic'd up right now. So, after all it was said and done, the content that was created for that Facebook show, and whoever watched it, thank you. Who hasn't, check it out. It turned out great. I mean, it was a great show. Episode 8, I mean, I cried again. I cried twice watching it, maybe 3 times. I can't remember. But just, I will say I'm glad it's over with, but they are talking about a second season. Great.
We'll go back over here to the right to Kenny Bruce.
Kenny Bruce with KennyBruce.net. 2 quick things, Bubba. The attention that you got, I mean, it was almost like you won the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's what I told my mom.
Did that surprise you that, I mean, there have been so many 500s that I couldn't tell you who finished second.
Mm-hmm.
But this one, it's like it's one that's going to stick with people. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's always been the case. No one remembers who's finished second except for the guy who finished second. But like you said, a lot of people are going to remember this moment, remember that day, and just be able to take it in. I mean, I don't know. I guess that's all the pressure y'all put on me to perform well. Hell, I went out there and did it for you, so I gave y'all a story. So, but I mean, I think it was pretty big. I mean, for Austin to be able to win 20 years after Senior did, and carry that 3 back to victory lane. The 43 was, I'll just go ahead and say it was a bigger story. Just I don't know why. I mean, I was in there. I mean, we were able to do this. First African American since Wendell Scott. Highest African American finish, highest rookie finish. I never even knew that. So just a lot of history that went with it. But I mean, just crazy. I mean, it's awesome.
Okay, and along those lines, when you look back on that whole week, and kind of you've had time to digest it now, what's going to stick out to you?
What's going to stick out? I mean, everything about that week will stick out. I'll remember that week for the rest of my life of, you know, what we did in our off days to media day to getting sick and everything. And just, you know, the amounts of sleeps I had, what I had for breakfast each and every day. I mean, I'll remember it all just because it was so vivid and just a great week to remember. Everything will stick out, especially me crying.
We'll stay over here to the right to Woody, and then we'll go to Chris.
Woody came with MRN. Since super speedways are such a different beast with this Western swing coming up, what's your comfort level with those tracks, and how important will that be for you guys to kind of get a real feel for where you are for the bread and butter of the circuit?
Yeah, you know, this is where everybody unleashes all their cards here. So I'll be excited to see what we unload with and what other guys unload with. You know, having that alliance with RCR, looking back and watching in the first handful of laps last year, Newman was pretty quick here. And so hopefully we can build off a little bit of that. But especially going into Phoenix, I feel good about that place. You know, they ran good there last year. RPM ran good there last year at the end of the year. Our Vegas is good. We tested there, had a great test. So I'm excited about the tracks I'm going back to for, say, the second time. But Phoenix is, you know, your typical short track. And so that won't be too bad. But Fontana will be the next big challenge. Just 218 off in turn one, whatever it is. Hanging on for dear life, you know, running right against the fence. It's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. So as far as what we're going to have, we'll let you know first couple laps in practice because we have no idea.
We'll go to Chris Knight.
ChrisKnight@catchfans.com. Bubba, after Daytona and Daytona and the social media stuff and all the videos and stuff, has that helped you guys in your game for the sponsorship hunt?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have you know, the NASCAR racing experience on board, so that's nice. And very thankful for that. I have also associate sponsor of EU Ward, African American owned business, so it's really special for them to jump on board, especially with it being Black History Month. So I think these efforts are helping. I think the phones are starting to ring a little bit more. I know the media opportunities are starting to grow, getting a little bit bigger there. So as long as we keep doing everything off the racetrack and on the racetrack the right way, I think it'll be here before we know it. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Let's go to Mike Henry, then Bob, then over to Jerry.
Mike Henry, USA Today. Is making this team an 8 to 12 place team on a regular basis more about stuff that you have to do or about the team?
It's both of us. You know, I have to put that car in a position and put us there in that spot, but we also have to have the equipment and have the right adjustments to be able to do that. So, you know, this is a team sport. There's no I in team, and there's no I in any of these drivers in this field. So it all relies on teamwork. So, you know, we could be running fifth all day, and we come down pit road for the last stop, and pit crew messes up, then, you know, we all go down, and not just them. So we'll have to just minimize mistakes, or I'll come in and slide through the box, whatever it is. So, you know, we all got to make sure we're still pulling in the same direction. That's what's going to keep us ahead of the ball. As soon as we start getting in the opposite direction, that's when we start getting behind, and, you know, the results will start to show. So, great team. I have no worries about, you know, what's going to happen. They're all prepared, and we'll be ready.
Go in the middle to Bob, then we'll finish up over here with Jerry.
All right, I guess this is what you thought I was going to ask. Have you gotten official notice that you've been removed from Hamlin's basketball or golf leagues?
Both. I've been removed from both. Yeah. So, although I didn't get the direct text, it went through like 5 or 6 people. So, that's classy, I guess.
So you really have been told that you're not welcome there anymore?
No, I have not. I have been told the golf league was out. I removed myself from the basketball league just after the conversation we had that day. I was like, whatever, I guess I'm not coming back. That's okay. No, probably not going to.
We'll finish up over here with Jerry on the left.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net and PRN. Okay, so we saw your mom and your sister come up and hug you, and the emotional. What was the conversations with them like after everything last week? What was that?
I didn't really hear from him. I was super busy. We got away from each other, and it was cool. She called me. My mom called me. When did she call me? Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Just to talk and see how everything was, and she was just still so proud, and she's seen what'd she say? I can pull it up. She sent a message right after the phone call. She usually does that. We'll talk for an hour, then she'll send me a damn hour-long text message for me to read. It's like, Jesus Christ. She said, Hey, babe, reading the comments from Sunday's race. Wow, I'm so emotional right now. You did win on Sunday. You won the hearts of so many people. That's better than the first place finish, because when you do get that first win, oh my God, there's going to be a riot. LOL. Love you. So very proud. And then, aren't you glad I decided to have one more child? Oh, that's my mom. And that's where you see I can get it from. So, talked to my sister last night. My nephew, he wanted to FaceTime me, but we were traveling back from the dinner, so by the time I called back, he was already asleep. But they'll be back down this weekend, so my good luck charms, I guess.
Bubba, please tell your mom thanks. Thank you for joining us, and good luck this weekend.
Will do. Thanks.
So continuing our media availabilities in advance of the Folds of Honor Quick Trip 500, we're joined now by the defending race winner, driver of the number 2 Autotrader Ford for Team Penske, Brad Keselowski. Brad, thanks for going the extra mile to get here today. And
thank you. Can we all agree this is the best media center? I mean, look at the food lineup. I'm inspired to win the race just for the food and post-race. I don't know. There's somebody in here responsible for that. Thank you. Save me a chocolate donut for after the race if we win, or maybe a taquito.
We'll keep both.
Taquito, okay.
We'll keep both for you. Thoughts about
I
heading
get
into
pumped.
this
I don't usually come to the media center pre-race. This was my inspiration, was to see the Quick Trip food.
Excellent. We'll see if we can get that at a few more of our facilities. So, your thoughts heading into this weekend? Obviously, defending race winner. You've had a lot of success here over the years. Just tell us a little bit about where your head is now.
Well, yeah, obviously last year, when you win, that's a lot of fun, and I'm glad we won and they didn't repave the racetrack. That's cool. Usually that's how that goes. You win, you finally figure a place out. I'm like, all right, let's reconfigure it. So that didn't happen, which I'm happy about. But I'm not really entirely sure what to expect. I was doing a spot yesterday on the Fox show there, Race Hub, and somehow I ended up next to Chad Knaus, and we were talking about, Atlanta expectations, and we both looked at each other and were like, I have no idea what to expect. We could come here and be the best car. We could come here and run 15th all day. I don't know. I could see it going either of the two ways. So with respect to that, there's a lot of reasons for it. New rules, first race on a mile and a half. Atlanta's kind of its own animal in a lot of different ways of the mile and a halves because of the tire wear requires unique car setups. So it's really a hard track to really have a great answer for your level of competitiveness entering the weekend, even if you had been in the middle of the season, and we're not. We're at the start of the season. So, it's a bit of an open weekend for a team to come and take and run with, and hopefully we can do that like we did last year.
Excellent. We're going to go open it up to questions. We'll start with Jeff and then go to Mike.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. So
you're in the middle this week.
Yeah, I moved back. Yeah,
that's good. We're glad to have you back.
Thanks. So this new inspection system, I know not necessarily the Hawkeye, but whatever the big black tent. How much do you think that it's going to cause problems for teams today? What's your prediction for who will push it? I mean, do you think there's going to be a big long line like we saw the last couple years in Atlanta?
I don't know. It's my understanding that it has a knob on it for how sensitive it can be. So. And it really depends on where the knob is set. I don't know it articulately to really define how all that works. It's got a special name. I don't even know the special name for it. So I need an education on that one. But I don't know. That's part of the wild card unique factor this weekend that I don't think we can give a great answer on.
It's the optical scanning station that's going to work great.
Optical scanning station, OSS. It's like
Optical
a military term. Okay.
We'll go to Mike and then to Bob.
Isn't that the CIA before it was the CIA? Weren't they the OSS?
Sure was.
Where's Bob at? Were you next, Bob? Oh, no, it was Mike's next. Okay, sorry.
Mike Emery, USA Today. Racing at Daytona was a little bit crazy. It seemed like it was kind of anything goes, except maybe you couldn't go below the yellow line to pass. Is that a good thing? Is that can we look for more of that craziness at Talladega?
Yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time kind of looking in the rearview mirror at Daytona because I can't change it. I can't change the results, can't change what happened. But, the way play racing generally works is, we have about 6 races there a year. 2 at Talladega and 4 at Daytona if you count the duels and the clash and whatnot. And it seems like that there's ebbs and flows to it. You get 3 or 4 in a row that are just complete crash fests with no rhythm or rhyme to it. And then you'll get 3 or 4 in a row that are not crash fests where there's, a rhythm and flow and all those great things to it, and we can kind of make something happen. And, the Clash felt like it had good rhythm, and we could kind of work through it and make things happen. And by the time we got to the 500, it was just, a free-for-all. And there was no real rhyme or reason to why that race was what it was. It just was kind of a crash fest. So, I kind of approached those weekends knowing that any race can be any one of those, and try not to let it break your heart when it is one of those, because it's certainly frustrating. But, I looking back at Daytona, I was happy to at least win one of the races there, and, it's probably pretty unrealistic to expect anyone to be able to do to sweep that, but we would have loved to, and it didn't come together. So that's just the way it kind of is. But hate to see all the torn up race cars and all that stuff. You guys already know that, but it is what it is. You just kind of move on and come to Atlanta.
We're going to go to the middle to Bob, then we'll go to Matt and Nate.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. You haven't ruled out owning a Cup team at one point in your life. Does it matter to you when you see no open cars here and just the 36 charter cars?
Yeah, I don't know if I've kind of made my opinion up on that, Bob. There are some parts of me that thinks it's awful, and some parts of me that think, well, it kind of makes sense. And I think that we were in a spot before in the sport where it didn't really make sense 10 years ago when we sent home guys with great sponsors and they didn't get the race. I thought that was terrible. And then on the other side, it doesn't make perfect sense to me to not have a full field. So I don't know. Both sides of it, I guess I can completely understand, but I don't know if there's a right answer for this sport. I know that we are lucky enough to have second and third tier series that provide an opportunity for anyone to show up and have a place to race, and you would prefer to see those series utilized. But I do feel like the NASCAR racing is at its best at 40-car fields.
We'll go over here to the left to Matt, and then we'll go back to the middle to Nate and Reed.
Matt Weaver, AutoWeek.com. When it comes time, inevitably, to either repave or resurface Atlanta, how involved do you expect the Drivers' Council to be, whether it's in terms of whether it's a repave, whether it's a resurface, or what kind of grinding to use? Just how involved do you expect the guys to be in determining that?
What do I expect? I don't expect a lot. What we would probably like would be a lot. This is, of all the tracks we go to, this would probably be the hardest track to repave because of its design, its layout. The car configuration as it stands today just doesn't really lend itself to what this track would look like if it was repaved. But it does lend itself to where it is in this current configuration of worn out, really bumpy asphalt. This car fits this track pretty well. And I'm kind of stealing this from Kevin Harvick. I don't think it's as simple as just repaving Atlanta. I think it's a much more complicated equation than just putting down new asphalt in order to ensure the high quality of racing that this track has right now.
In what way? What makes it so complicated?
What makes it so complicated to just repave it? Yeah. Because right now you have some dynamic features to the track with the bumps, the worn out pavement, this track has just so many unique features that would be erased if you just repaved it. From the way that the top lane seams in to the backstretch, to the way, and I always think this is funny about this track, whenever they redid it in 1997, I think the guy that was driving the pavement truck was maybe not in the soberest of moods, because when they paved the bottom lane, it's like he went down in the corner and he went, and it does all these like kicks to it. So it's not a, Nate, maybe, is this the right word, concentric lane? It's well, that was my chance. So it's not a perfectly done lane like in a radius, and because it has all those little kicks to it, I mean, it's like riding a bull in the race car. You know, you get right down on that edge, and it kicks you back and forth, and it makes for great racing because it makes the cars just a real bear to drive, and makes the setup really hard for the crew chiefs as well. But you know, that'd be extremely hard to duplicate when you repave it. You know, and among other features of bumps and, like I said, transitions. And you know, it's been my experience when we just try to repave a track that those things always get missed. You know, they always get left out. Michigan's a perfect example of that. Michigan, before it was repaved, was just a phenomenal multi-groove racetrack that you could run the top, the bottom, and the middle. And now we've been there for almost half a dozen years since it's been repaved, and we're stuck in one lane still. And that just shows that the technology that was used in that day and time for paving the tracks, whether it be the equipment or the aggregates and so forth, we can't seem to get back to it. That's another one of the challenges as well. So there's a whole list of challenges that make it much more complicated than just simply repaving the track. I don't know if I articulated all of them well, but
We'll go over here to the right to Nate, then Reed.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports, OSS, Office of Strategic Services.
So I got it right?
I can't confirm that one. Yeah.
All right.
So the EFI data that they're making available now, you've been pretty outspoken on that, so has Kyle Busch. I guess two questions, Brad. Like one, your team wasn't scraping that from what I understand. Have you guys developed a process for it? Are you going to be using it today? Are you going to see it? And two, do you think it'll have an impact here on this race?
I don't know. That's one of the wild cards of this weekend, to Jeff's point. I don't know the quality that we're going to receive from that. There's a really, really technical, complicated discussion that goes with it. In theory, I'm against it. In practice, perhaps different, and I haven't seen it in practice. So I kind of want to see it in practice. And without having a full answer to that, I don't feel like it's fair for me to say. My intuition says that in theory it'll work, in practice it won't. So I really would like to get through a couple of weekends of seeing it, because at this point in time, the little bit of access I've had to it, which has been minimal at best, says that it's probably not going to work in practice, and we won't have to worry about it. It's kind of a non-story, but I could be completely wrong. So I really want to see it in a working environment rather than an engineering lab.
We'll stay right here in the middle to Reed and then Jerry.
Reed Spencer, NASCAR Wire Service. I've got a Bristol question for you. You've got 2 wins there. Seem to run there.
What track was this?
Bristol.
Bristol, yes, sir.
Seem to run there pretty well, pretty much all the time consistently. How long did it take you to get the hang of that place, and why does it seem to suit you so well?
I love Bristol. I loved it a lot before they ground the top lane. I kind of really loathe that part, but looking back at Bristol, Bristol is one of those tracks I came into as a rookie, 2007, 2008. It was reconfigured at that point in time, so I feel like from an experience standpoint, I was kind of on even keel to all the other drivers. And it's a track that just embraced the challenge. I like the challenge. I like tracks like that are just completely in your face track, right? That challenges you by yourself, let alone around other cars. And I took a lot of pride in going there and running well. Along with that, our team, Paul Wolf specifically, developed some really great setups and cars to run there. Unfortunately, when the track got ground in 2012, we had just won 2 or 3 races there, and we just never really caught on to it when they ground the track. So that was really a bummer. Hopefully we'll figure it back out. We've got a couple of decent finishes there since then, but also a lot of bad finishes. So it's a track that's kind of been hit or miss for us. It was kind of a guaranteed go-to and run well track for us for probably 2 or 3 years, and then it's been changed a couple times, and we haven't caught on to it as well. So now it's kind of turned into a wild card track for us, but we still are very proud of the success we've had there.
We'll go to the left to Jerry, then Christian, then finish up with Jeff.
Jerry Jordan, KickingTheTires.net, PRN. Okay, so you like the old Bristol, you love this track. Next week we go to Atlanta, to Vegas from here.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that and your expectations going out to the West Coast?
Yeah. Well, Vegas has been a good track for us. You know, we've won 2 of the last 3. 2 of the last what do we won there? 14 and 16. So 2 of the last 4. Probably should have won there, you know, last year and had a part failure, you know, leading in the last few laps. So I think there's a little bit of redemption we're looking for going back there. We tested there this past January and learned a few things that hopefully we can apply this weekend and that weekend as well. So I think we're pretty optimistic going into that race. It's a track that's been good for us, obviously, with the success, and gives us good confidence.
We'll go to the back right to Christian, then finish up with Jeff.
Christian Coley, frontstretch.com and the Motorsports News Source. Brad, last year there was a lot of speeding penalties. Can you elaborate on what you kind of felt would cause that last year and what maybe can fix that this year?
I didn't have one here last year, but there are, you know, this is a really tough pit road. It's bumpy, kind of like the racetrack, which makes it to where the in-car telemetry really struggles to give great feedback, great data. And if you're pushing at the limit and you lose your dash, it's very difficult and very easy to go over the speed. Very difficult to monitor, but very easy to go over the speed limit. I would imagine that played a pretty heavy factor in it. You know, it's just one of those tracks that I feel like when you come to, you have to be pretty conservative as a driver to avoid a speeding penalty.
Let's finish up right here in the middle with Jeff Gluck.
I guess after the wreck last week, you and Chase weren't happy with each other, or he wasn't happy with you, or I don't know who wasn't happy with who, but did you have to do any damage control in the aftermath of that situation?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know. We'll probably figure it out here in the next few weeks.
Brad, thank you for joining us today.
No
Good
problem.
luck this weekend.
Thanks, Jeff.